Son throws tantrum after we cancel his trip, but he was hiding something. My son just graduated high school and we were paying so he could go on a road trip with his friends. He was supposed to go Wednesday. My wife's mother and father got in a car accident. They live in another state, so we had to drive about 4 hours. My wife was a wreck and wasn't in the position to drive since her dad was critical. He pulled through luckily. We have 2 other kids, 11 and 7. We can't leave them at home alone, and we couldn't find a sitter to watch them on such short notice. We even tried our neighbors, but he couldn't do it. So that left our 18-year-old. He was pissed, to put it mildly, but did it. I told him we would make it up to him and if he could ask if his friend could move it back a week. They couldn't, sadly. We were gone for 2 days. He pulled though. My wife stayed and I headed back. I paid him for watching the kids and went to talk to him about getting him on the trip. It was supposed to be 2 weeks and they should just be a state over. He blows up about ruining his trip and there is no point going, even though it should still 12 days of the trip. He called up a jerk and locked himself in his room. I need another opinion since this was emergency and he doesn't seem to care. His grandparents almost passed. Someone said info. If your son had already left for the trip, what would you have done with your 2 kids? Op replied, I have no idea. My wife couldn't watch them. She was a wreck and I barely slept the whole time since I was handling that hospital and other paperwork. Maybe stick them in the hospital room, which would be a horrible opinion for everyone. I definitely don't want them to see grandpa, grandma like that and their mom having a breakdown. Another said, what's there a reason you didn't take the younger kids with you? They're at ages where you don't have to keep your eye on them every single second. It shouldn't have been that much of a bother. Op replied, it would have been an awful opinion for everyone, especially since I was running around through most of it and wasn't in the room for a good bit. Mom was having breakdowns and was not even fit to look after herself, and grandpa and grandma were bad also. Grandpa was basically mangled. Maybe the middle child could have handled it, but definitely not our youngest. We didn't leave that whole time, so basically 48 hours at a hospital. Another said, I feel like this is a rock and a hard place situation where I have a hard time calling you an AH, even though I'm leaning that way. Is this recent? Like, as of today, is much of the trip remaining? Because I do think you should continue to encourage him to go. Get him a plane ticket to meet up or drive him there yourself. Add in some money for an extra excursion for everyone. Whatever it is, as long as they didn't replace him and now don't have room for him, he's understandably upset, and he's only going to blame you even more if he misses entirely, even if some of that would be his own fault. Paying him for the days he babysat doesn't fully make him whole in this situation. You need to do what you promised and make it up to him. Op replied, there are 12 days left. I gave him the option to get on a plane or grab a cab, which I will pay for both, but he won't talk to me. Well, he called his mom. Let's say it didn't end well. He did say basically said the same thing he said to me. Wife had a breakdown on the phone with him. She sent him the injuries and pictures of grandpa, grandma. He finally came out of his room and told me he isn't going to go on the trip and the plane tickets aren't needed. Talked to my wife, never heard her that mad. Son confirmed what happened. He started yelling at her the moment the call started and she lost her shit when he called her selfish. On good news, grandpa has some feeling back in his legs, which was a huge concern for people saying we didn't have emergency plan. We do. First, my closest friend vacation, main babysitter not available, backup babysitter not available, last resort grandparents hospital. We tried to find someone that why we even asked our neighbor, which I have a good relationship with. This will be my last update. Had a conversation with my son about everything. Mom and him will have a conversation when she calms down. His friends are not a state over, they are about 2 down at this point and going to Mexico. They are probably will get to the border tonight. They were supposed to be going to California. He had his passport and everything ready. This is a fucking mess. I haven't informed my wife yet and will wait until she is calmer. I'll leave off with I hope none of you ever have to deal with a situation like this, and please remember your parents are human. Update, thank you to the people who reached out and asked how we were doing. I informed my wife about him going to Mexico and not California last night. It was over FaceTime, and after a long conversation we agreed she was too emotional to deal with the situation and that I will handle it while she focuses on her parents. I got the full story for my son first. The original plan was to go to California, but it changed to Mexico. He knew we wouldn't pay for a trip out of the country, so he lied. When the emergency happened, he realized that if he missed the leave date he wouldn't be able to join without us knowing he lied. I am furious. He was using our money for a trip and lying to our faces. So he is paying back every dime that we gave him for the trip. He already gave us $2,000, but the rest will have to come from his paycheck since he already spent it. Next was a log conversation about if he wants to be in this family. He is 18, he can leave. But if he wants to be in the family he has to give, not just take from everyone else. We aren't required to do shit at this point, but we love him so we do. He can't be lying to our faces and screaming at people when their parents are in bad shape. He admits he was upset and went too far, especially with his mom, and when she sent those pictures in sunk in how bad the situation was, not thrilled she did that. It was then it sunk in his grandparents could have passed. He apologized to his mom and me and she apologized for her breakdown on the phone. We're going to book family therapy since our trust that our son has been destroyed and it will help with the whole event. I don't regret not taking the younger kids to the ICU. It's an awful place and would be awful for them and seeing my wife having her breakdowns. On good news, Grandpa was moved to a normal room, unsure when he will be released, but it's a long recovery for him. Also no, he didn't cause the accident, it was on her highway and weaving car hit them. We think we will move down to the grandparents' home to help them, but it is uncertain at the moment. A commenter said, ignoring the wider issues in this family, it's very funny to me that people were criticizing the OOP about having no emergency childcare plan. Unless your emergency plan includes at least 2 unconnected people who have no job, no social life, don't drink, don't go on holiday, are close by and contactable at all times, then there's always a chance that it might fail. Maybe not if you're fabulously wealthy or live on a commune. But for most people, there are going to be times when it would be really inconvenient to have to rush to be at your relative's side in intensive care.